Hello friends, Notes on English Literature. 16th and 17th century poetry, The Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser. Short questions with answers. Short questions 7 to 13. Question 7. Why is The Fairy Queen called a romantic epic? Answer. An epic centers around the activities of a single hero of national importance. The romance, on the other hand, records the activities of several characters. The hero of an epic is a person of historical and national importance, while the characters of the romance are fictitious persons created by the fertile imagination of the writer. An epic generally maintains the unity of structure, while in a romance the structure is often loose. In depicting the actions of many men, the Fairy Queen becomes a romantic rather than an epic. But Spenser has given it the air of an epic by interweaving the various actions of various characters round the figure of Prince Arthur, the single hero. Since King Arthur, unlike the hero of romance, is a historical figure, Spenser, by depicting his activities, makes The Fairy Queen an epic. Question 8. What do you know about the Red Cross Knight? Answer. The Red Cross Knight, who is the hero of Book 1 of the Fairy Queen, has not been given any name. He is known by his designation, which is the Red Cross Knight. He is so called because he wears on his armor the sign of the cross, and because the same sign is also inscribed on his shield. The cross, as we know, symbolizes the martyrdom of Lord Jesus Christ. The knight, who is the hero of Book 1, is an ardent follower of Jesus Christ, and that is why he carries the sign of the cross on his armor and on his shield. The sign of the cross is depicted on the armor and on the shield of this knight in red color, and so he is called the Red Cross Knight, or the Knight of the Red Cross. Red symbolizes the blood of Jesus Christ. The Red Cross Knight is deputed by the Fairy Queen to relieve the distress of Lady Una, whose parents dwell in perpetual dread of a fierce dragon that has laid their whole kingdom to waste and threatened them with death and destruction. The Red Cross Knight symbolizes holiness or righteousness. His mission is to champion the cause of Una, truth, and regain the rights of her parents' human race, held in subjection by the mighty force of the dragon evil. Historically, the Knight of the Red Cross is St. George, or the Reformed Church of England, or England as a militant spiritual force fighting corruption, pride, and manifold evils of papacy, paganism, and Catholicism. Question 9. Who is Lady Una? What does she symbolize? Answer. Una is the daughter of the king whose country has been ravaged by the dragon, and whose own life is now in danger from that beast. Una is a maiden who accompanies the Red Cross Knight in his different adventures. Queen Gloriana, the Fairy Queen, has assigned the task of freeing her land from the dreadful dragon to the Red Cross Knight, who willingly undertakes to do it. When Book 1 begins, Una is leading the Red Cross Knight to her father's kingdom, which is far away. In the moral allegory of the poem, Una symbolizes truth. We should remember that she is a maiden and that she also symbolizes maidenly virtue. In the first book of the Fairy Queen, Una, like the Red Cross Knight, also symbolizes the Anglican Church. The mission of Una is to free her parents' humanity from the subjection of the foul dragon, evil, with the help of the Red Cross Knight, holiness. As long as truth and holiness are united, error, archi, arch, antichrist, however, founded on learning, cannot stand against holiness. Error or Christ is not powerful enough. I repeat it, error or Antichrist is not powerful enough to dismay holiness armored by the power of truth. Holiness must be grounded in truth in order to remain pure and immaculate in the world. So the force of truth fortifies holiness. When the truth and holiness are separated, hypocrisy gets the chance to mislead holiness. Thus, the separation of Una, that is truth, from the night, that is holiness, symbolizes danger of the English Church against the hypocrisy and plots of the Roman Catholicism. Question 10. Who is Monster Error? Describe the fight between Monster Error and the Red Cross Knight. Answer. Allegorically, the Monster Error stands for errors or mistakes of all kinds that human beings make in the course of their lives. The Red Cross Knight, accompanied by Lady Una, proceeded his journey to accomplish the task entrusted to him. As he was going through a wood, we found himself before a cave. The knight boldly entered the cave and, by the dim light of his armor, saw the Monster Error lying on the floor. Its lower half was like that of a serpent, and the upper half had a woman's form. It was ugly, filthy, and horrible. Its thousands of young ones were lying round her. When they saw dim light, they were frightened and at once crept into the gaping mouth of their mother. The Monster Error rushed out in anger to attack the king, to attack the knight. But when it saw him well armored, it wanted to retreat. But the knight struck a heavy blow on its head so that its senses were dazed for a moment. Furious at the blow, it jumped up and coiled the knight with its huge tail and held him in powerful grip. Seeing the helpless condition of the knight, Lady Una encouraged him to show his true mettle. Being inspired by the Lady Una's words, the knight used all his strength, freed one of his hands, and with it pressed the monster snake so forcefully that it was compelled to loosen its hold. Being desperate and with almost a superhuman force, the knight struck a heavy blow at the monster's head. Its head was cut off and its black blood sprouted out. Its blood sucked the blood of the mother. Its blood sucked its blood was sucked by the young ones of their mothers till their bellies did burst and they were all destroyed. Question 11. What is the allegorical significance of the fight between the Monster Error and the Red Cross Knight? Answer. Behind the bare facts of the fight between the Monster Error and the Red Cross Knight, there are spiritual and moral conceptions which blend and fuse in each other. Holiness, as represented by the Red Cross Knight, has first to seek its own perfection through the trial of its strength against its many adversaries. It has first to encounter with error, manifold, foul, and contemptible, whose den is the human heart, which it infests. Holiness overcomes error in a dreadful encounter, but through a great deal of hardships and much peril to its own life. Again, religious as well as political issues of that day are intermingled in the allegory. The Knight of the Red Cross is St. George, or the Reformed Church of England, or England as a militant spiritual force fighting corruption, pride, and manifold evils of papacy, paganism, and Catholicism. Una is truth as embodied in the doctrines of the National English Church. The fight of the Red Cross Knight with the monster of error symbolizes the conflict between Protestantism and Catholicism. The books and papers vomited by error allude to the scurrilous pamphlets directed against Queen Elizabeth by the Roman Catholics. Thus, in the mission of the Red Cross Knight, there is true religion, and Una, there is truth. We have seen that so long as truth and holiness or true religion are united, error, Antichrist, however, founded on learning, cannot stand against holiness. Question 12. Who is Archimago? Describe the encounter between Red Cross Knight and Archimago. Answer. Archimago is a magician, master in the art of disguise and dissembling. He appears before the Red Cross Knight and Lady Una as a very old man with bare feet, white and grey beard, wearing a long black garment, and a book, the Holy Bible, hanging from his belt. His eyes are bent downwards. As he walks on the way, he seems to pray and often beats his breast like a man who repents for his sins. The Red Cross Knight and Lady Una meet Archimago as they are trying to find their way out of the woods. Showing courteous behavior, the old man offers them night's lodging. But after they have gone to sleep, he starts to work some magic spells upon them. Conjuring up two evil spirits, he sends one to the kingdom of Morpheus, god of sleep, to borrow a false dream. The other spirit he keeps by himself to do some other work. Meanwhile, Archimago has transformed the second spirit into the appearance of Lady Una. In a false dream, the imitation lady is brought to the bedside of the knight, declaring her passion for him in a seductive tone. Though he is stirred by the charms and seeming tender words, he virtually, controlling himself, refuses her advances and returns to his rest. Having failed in his first intrigue, Archimago hatches one more trick upon the knight with the false dream. But the knight pays no attention to these things. Finding his labor in vain, the false dream goes back to his master in company of the other spirit who has falsely been given the shape of a lady. Question 13. What is the allegorical significance of the encounter between the Red Cross Knight and Archimago? Answer. Archimago, the seeming pious hermit who offers a hospitable shelter to the Red Cross Knight, holiness, and Una, truth, stands for hypocrisy. The knight blunders in considering himself to be acting on high moral principles. In his submission to the machinations of a vicious slanderer, his weakness is a sign of inexperience, a failure to distinguish between appearance and reality. Thus, holiness, the Red Cross Knight, when separated from truth, Una, is bound to meet with evil forces. Historically, the submission of the Red Cross Knight to the intrigue of Archimago signifies the fall of man in the Garden of Eden, man's loss of his origin purity. Though the subtle persuasion of Satan, Archimago again stands for Philip II of Spain, who was a Roman Catholic by faith. Archimago also represents one of the exponents of the Roman Catholic faith, out to damage and undermine the forces of Reformation, as represented by the Red Cross Knight, Prince Arthur, and Lady Una. Thank you, friends, for watching my